This is exactly what the Bengals needed. Charlie Jones looks to be healthy, back practicing at OTAs, and despite the crowded wide receiver room, his impact is going to be felt if he comes back healthy and ready to contribute on special teams and beyond. Welcome to the jungle. This is Isaac Coffman with Bengals Digest. So glad to see you. And if you want to be up to date with all the Bengals notes, the news, as they're breaking, smash that subscribe. If you have not already, join the community. We want to hear your voice as we anticipate this exciting Bengals season. So there has been reports that Charlie Jones is back at OTAs, looking healthier than ever. Charlie Jones is an X factor on the special teams. He has shown he has the ability, the skills to be a game changer on special teams. I'm really excited to hear these reports. That has been a concern. That is what we have to be honest about. Charlie Jones has been battling injury. Despite his talent, despite his skills, he is something that the Bengals are going to need on special teams. He is now 2 years removed from a 81-yard punt return. It was electric to see. He is that kind of a player that is capable of returning punts, returning kick returns, and just getting good field position. Special teams is not talked about enough. That is a crucial piece of this Bengals team. And here's why I feel that him being healthy, if he can just stay healthy, as much as he's on the field mostly for special teams, he is kind of that slot receiver that has come in on special formations, those types of things. It's crucial. It really is crucial. Another thing about him last year was in week 7, he returned a 100-yard kick return. It was just awesome. It's just so cool to see him able to do that. Charlie Jones has that speed factor. He has that ability, the instincts that the Bengals need. It hasn't been something the Bengals have had for a while. They've had more of that possession returner outside of your Adam Jones, Pac-Man Jones. They haven't really had that electric returner. And unfortunately, again, injuries have been the situation with Charlie Jones. But this is why he's going to be such a big factor for the special teams. If you look up the games last year, the Bengals went with a total record of 9-8. We can talk about that, right? Why did they end up with the record they had? Well, there's several factors that came into play. T. Higgins was another that had a few games that he was out injured. You had the defense that just struggled. They just struggled mightily last year for whatever reason, if it was the players not gelling together or whatnot. But if we look at what their record was, they were 9-8. 7 of those losses were by one possession. One possession. That's just crazy to think about, that if you're talking not even a return, right? Again, those things are rare. Being able to return the ball, we'd love to see it. We'll take it. Don't get me wrong, but you can't expect a return every single time. However, field position plays so much of a factor in those last minutes. How many times did we see the Bengals have that chance? And although Burrow, we know we can expect him to be able to get down the field, get that game winning, just didn't have enough that time. Defense figured him out or just had his number that day, had the rest of the offense. They were able to contain all the players, whatever reason. But just think of even 1 or 2 of those games, Charlie Jones was not injured and was able to return it within field goal range. Again, take the Ravens, for example. The Ravens, they played them twice, lost both games to the Ravens. And it's crazy to think. A combined loss of 4 points. Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy that they lost a combined 4 points to the Ravens. One of those games was by 1 point. Oh, they were right there. So, going back to Charlie Jones, he can be that much of a difference. We overlook special teams. We overlook sometimes those little things, but they add up. Field position alone, having good field position for Joe Burrow. We can't make excuses for Joe Burrow. We can't say, well, he needs more help. He's got the weapons. Sure, he should be able to make those game-winning drives. But he'll even admit, there was an interview recently saying if he would have played a little bit better, they would have made the playoffs. Maybe that's true. Maybe some of those games where he had that chance and did not come through, well, there you go. But he may not have had much of a hurdle to get over to. If you have somebody like Charlie Jones that's back there to give you a possible good field position. Getting that return, sure, that would be amazing. That would be fantastic. But either way, you look at it, just having that weapon, it's got some it factor. It's got that X factor going on. You have to think about, again, Charlie Jones has been dealing with injury, and we just haven't seen his full potential because he's mostly contributed on special teams. But the other thing to factor in, he's got a very competitive wide receiver room to compete with. You've got Yoshavash pretty much locked up in that number 3 as of now. He's that guy that proved it last year. You have him just kind of reminding me of a TJ Hushmanzada a little bit. I feel like he's just that solid receiver. I loved Hushmanzada and how solid you could count on him in those crucial third downs. It seems like Yoshavash was there. He still had some growing pains. There was a few moments where I believe he dropped a few passes. You know, he's still growing. He's still young. But I can't help it. There's just those glimpses. I feel like he's got that possession, reliable receiver. And I think it's his position to lose, really, at this point. We talked about another video. You have Jermaine Burton, who has had his off-field struggles. He's really on thin ice right now. However, you can't deny his talent. His skills are just, he could be a starter if he could get his head in the game, if he could put it together, if he could just learn to put what the coaches are telling him to do, all those ones that are helping him. Burrow's in his corner. Burrow has time and again spoke out how he wants him to be successful. To have someone like Joe Burrow in your corner, you yourself have got to put the effort forward. If Burton can do that, certainly he's in the mix. He could be an electric 3 for the Bengals, because we can establish this. Again, Jamar Chase, Triple Crown winner. I argue he's the best wide receiver in the league. Justin Jefferson, you can make a case for. T. Higgins is right there as your 1B. He would be a number 1 on practically any other team that doesn't have that top receiver. But that number 3 spot, it's Yoshavash, and then if Burton can come up. But again, we have to keep in mind, you also have that Charlie Jones factor. As much as he's shown only on special teams, he looks to be a reliable slot receiver. He could be that number 3. He really could. Unfortunately, those injuries are what has caught up to them. And I just keep thinking again, how, if he could just stay on the field, even if it's on special teams, how much of an it factor he can truly be. And the Bengals, again, he himself was injured, but T. Higgins has a history of injuries, unfortunately. We hope that's behind him. He plays all games this season. We need T. Higgins to be all games and just light it up. I feel like as fans, we're not going to be content with a wild card. We're not going to be necessarily content with the division. That's, I think, going to be kind of the goal. But the number 1 seed, if you're going to get the number 1 seed, you've got to have depth. And Charlie Jones being healthy, showing so far that he's back to full speed, that's encouraging to see, because you're going to need every single player just playing at their best ability possible. So seeing Charlie Jones, he's kind of that X factor. Again, we saw those glimpses of him in the last few years of what he can do on special teams. I think if he can come back and at least do that, that could prove to be crucial. That could prove to be a big difference, especially when it comes to at least a division. But that number 1 seed, if the Bengals can play up to that potential, they got things worked out and clicking, who knows? That's something to think about and keep an eye on when it comes to camp and his health, continuing to stay healthy, contribute, and who knows? We'll see what happens when it comes to those very close 1-possession games. Maybe you'll see it flip the other way compared to last year. But we want to hear from you. What do you think? Are you a Charlie Jones fan? Do you think he is going to be healthy this year, that he's going to make a difference, be contributing on special teams, possibly have a kick return or punt return, we want to hear from you. And again, if you have not already, smash that subscribe button so you'll be all up to date on all the Bengals breaking news as they come out. So that's going to do it for now, guys. As we say, Hoo day.